a reminder again for those of you that know Wasky Squirrel and Pierre Gustafson. I'll be doing a live stream on Wasky's channel on Sunday at 3-ish o'clock. I believe he wants to talk about my sketching process and taking pens out on the road with me, maybe deciding which pens I'm going to take in my pocket. That used to be a very traumatic experience, especially if I was going anywhere for more than a weekend, even though a weekend was very difficult to choose what pens I would bring there, because as I'm fixing pens and repairing them from pens I got at pen shows and stuff, I'll fix a Schaefer Triumph nib, for example, and I'll write with it a little bit, and I'll say, I forgot how much I like these pens, these Triumph nib pens. So then I'll go to my collection and I'll grab 3 or 4 Triumph nib pens and I'll put those in my pocket. But I'll also bring my Waterman flexible nib or my Eversharp Skyline or whatever nib I normally would bring with me. I would bring those pens plus the Triumph nib pens. So then I have 10 pens in my pocket. And a problem one has when one brings so many pens with you, you're not an octopus. You can only use one at a time. And so which ones will you take? They're back in the olden days when people traveled on ocean liners, you would get the Ryerson family taking a trip on the Titanic, and they brought 14 steamer trunks for the family. And I know that each night Mrs. Ryerson would have to wear a different gown at dinner and probably a different gown during the day. So there's 24 gowns she has to bring with her and 24 hats. And, the guy would bring one suit, one, evening coat, and maybe 7 detachable collars and 3 shirts. Anyway, the idea is if you bring so much and you suddenly see something that you want to draw, let's say the Hindenburg, you're doing a drawing of the Hindenburg landing at Lakehurst, New Jersey, and here it is, and suddenly it blows up, and then you look down at your pocket, I need to sketch this. Oh, will I use the Triumph nib? Shall I use the Waterman? Well, they didn't even have the Triumph nib back then. But anyway, if you have too many choices in your pocket, it's going to take you that much longer to get the pen out and to do the drawing. So normally these days, when I go to Minnesota for the summer, I'll fill up this case. It has that many holes in it, and that will keep me, even that many choices keeps me from deciding to do a drawing, because I have to think about which pen I'm going to use, and that takes time. And by the time I decide which one I'm going to take, the inspiration, the sun has set, the flowers withered and died, whatever it was that I was going to do a drawing of, my desire to draw it is no longer there. So advice to you is to bring fewer pens with you. Now, there is also a problem where I will go out with Urban Sketchers and I'll get to a place and I think I'm going to draw that, but instead this thing over there is really interesting. And I forgot that that was there, or it's something new that I hadn't seen before. And God damn it, why didn't I bring my pencils? Or why didn't I bring my iPad to do a drawing of it that way? So when you don't bring enough, that's a problem. When you bring too much, that's a problem. So that might be something that Wasky and I will be talking about. He also wanted to ask, what do I do when I make a mistake? For me, I can't erase ink. I usually just live with it. It's the flaw in the ointment. The flaw in the ointment, the flaw in the Navajo rug. I just leave it there and I draw. I keep drawing without, so if there's a smudge or something, I'll live with it. So, but anyway, I don't know what else he's going to talk about. It'll be interesting to see, and I hope we have fun. Wasky is a person who uses pens to write words on a sentence, makes a sentence, makes two sentences, makes paragraphs. He's writing down thoughts, conveying thoughts. Most people that use pens are people that are writing thoughts and sentences and paragraphs and books and poems and stuff, letters. I'm not one of those people. Rarely do I do that. I mainly draw or do calligraphy or doodle. So I imagine Wasky may have the same trauma deciding. I think he's more organized, the pens in use thing that he does, where he'll select 6 or 8, whatever pens that he's going to use during the week. He'll fill them up. He'll use them in school, grading papers, at home, writing grocery lists, whatever he's doing. He probably has some sort of logic behind what kind of pens he's going to fill. He probably knows in advance that he needs a pen that has red ink in it. He probably knows in advance he really wants to use a pen that has a broad nib. He might know in advance he needs a pen that has a flexible nib. I don't know. It'll be fun to ask him this question. For me, I really enjoy the pen sort of telling me what to do. I might be on a really fine, tiny, thin nib kick, and I'll bring a selection of really, really fine, tiny nibbed pens with me to do drawings. And I'll realize how much fun that is, or how boring that is, or who knows what that is. But it's interesting to sort of rediscover pens you haven't used in a while, to rediscover drawing styles you haven't used in a while. I recently looked back at a lot of the drawings I did for Pen World magazine. And God, I used to draw with lots of detail and realistically drawing in perspective, making sure all the lines were even or uneven depending on what I was drawing. I took a lot of time to plan the drawings because these were going to be in a publication, and I don't do that so much anymore. I try to draw without pencil. I try to draw quickly. I try to make me not become bored. So anyway, here's a pen that I fixed yesterday. See if I can find it. Actually, these are two pens that this one had a Frankenpen nib in it, and I took it out and put it in this pen. This nib used to be in this pen, but the nib stuck out so far that I couldn't screw the cap on. So I took it out of this pen, this pen is a Good Service Pen Company pen, or the Lincoln pen. It's a Lincoln pen. Is it a Lincoln pen? What is it? Yeah, the Lincoln pen. These were produced in the 20s by the National Pen Company pen, I think. And it's the pen company that I eventually bought, was sort of a successor to that. Good Service Pen Company became the Good Service Pen Shop, which I bought. And so I did have a lot of Lincoln pens and Good Service Pen Company pens. And anyway, they they did have, the Good Service Pen Company did have nibs that looked like rarely were they marked good service. I think I have maybe one in my collection that says good service on them. But normally they had a nib like this, and it had warranted written here. There was a little triangle like that, and then 14 karat gold. And maybe there was a number 2 or 4 or whatever. So that probably would have been in this pen, or some warranted pen nib. If you look at the size of the nib that's in this section, you see that it seems kind of small for the pen. That was typical of many second tier companies. They made a big fun fancy pen barrel like this. It didn't cost that much to make a big fat barrel, but it did cost more to make a big fat nib, or to buy a big fat nib. So they intentionally made nibs being kind of small. So it took me a while to find a nib that fit this. And this nib is a Waterman that I was able to. It's a 5A nib. It's kind of late in Waterman's. It was made during the time this pen was made in the 40s. So this nib is much newer than the pen, but it fit okay. If I shoved it in further, I might damage it, but it's tight in here. I mean, it doesn't go back very far, but it is tight. So I'm not going to press my luck by shoving it in further. And it writes really, really well. And so I'm going to put ink in this and carry this around with me for a while. This is, for the last 10 years or so, it's been sitting on my drawing desk with this amazing dip nib in it. And I use it for calligraphy, but now this is a pen and cap that I bought at the Boston Pen Show in a baggie full of stuff. And this is not the right cap for this pen, but that's what came on it. And this had a steel nib in it. This nib right here was in this pen. And these steel nib pens are, when you find them in a pen, you take the steel nib out. Usually the feed is really, really loose, because this metal here is really thicker than gold nibs, and they're almost perfect for this size of pen. Also, what's neat about this particular pen is the shape of this pen is not entirely round. It's a little flat on top, which is perfect for this nib. because that's what they want. So this nib, anyway, okay, what's wrong with this? Why is it not working? Sometimes if the nib gets deformed, and this one did, because I did try this in some other pens, and if you put a flatter nib in a rounder hole, the nibs spread apart, the tines spread apart, and if the tines spread apart, the ink won't get to the page. So look at yesterday's video to see what I went through to try to get this pen to work. And I still have to work on that. The other pen I fixed was this one. And this was something I recently rediscovered. It was in a drawer full of pens that are this color, black and white, marbly. And most of them are really, really cheap pens made by really, really bad makers. But this one is a third tier maker, but really a nice, solid, heavy pen pencil combo. And I thought, I'll make this one work. I'll have fun drawing with this, bringing this with me. And this nib, I think, is a Ready Point. Boy, the way they calligraphed Ready Point is very funny. It's R-E-D-I and then the P looks like a backwards G. This goes like that. It's really rather than like that. I-N-T, Ready Point. And this, I've got a bunch of these nibs. They're sort of, again, second tier nibs made by the Ready Point company. They're flexible and sort of fun and sort of smooth, but they're a little funny. They're fat and short, and but it did fit in this section and feed without me having to do too much tweaking or finding a different feed for it. Sometimes I do have to do that, even if it's within one company, like a Eversharp Skyline. I once had a neighbor, a friend of mine, and Boston pen collector friend, who's very what is it, ACDC? No, that's not it. It's ACD. Sorry, he's not ACDC. He's ACD. And he went through my Eversharp Skyline drawer and took all the parts and put them in little piles. All the feeds were here, all the sections were here. And then I said, well, Ben, I want you to try something. Take this nib and that feed and see how many sections it fits. And he said, eventually he tried them and tried them and tried them and tried them, and maybe there was one pairing that worked. And I said, well, that's one of the reasons why I don't sort things out the way you do, because each one of these things is unique. You can't easily swap a nib and expect it to work, because they're all done by hand. The feeds are all done by hand, or they're not necessarily done by hand, but they're put together. You know, the section and the feed and the nib back in the factory were put together correctly So they fit and they were tight, but you weren't cramming anything in. So it ended up, you end up sometimes, let's say I have this Waterman eyedrop fill pen, and I really like the nib in this Waterman eyedrop fill pen, and I think I can just easily swap them, and you can't. I mean, sometimes you get lucky. Maybe half the time it's perfectly fine, but sometimes you have to go to your Waterman feed drawer and find a feed that maybe is a little bit tighter, a little wider, a little bit tighter, a little narrower, a little thinner, where the nib you want and the hole you want to, the section you want to put the nib into is the right size. And when you try to put something in, and if it's loose, you need a fatter nib, or you need something else. So it's unlike pens today where you can swap nibs out by just unscrewing them and screwing another one in like an Esterbrook nib. The ones that have to be done by hand require a lot of trial and error, and there's lots of error in how to make these things work the right way. Let's see. So anyway, Wasky and I will be working on that. Another thing I'm going to be doing today is I have a couch that's really, really low to the ground. It has little tiny feet. Here's the back. And where Pier's butt goes, here's Pier's legs and his feet. Here's his V-shaped torso, his ripped abs. And here's his knees, my defined calves. This is really low. The side view of this is, here's my butt, here's my knees, here's the floor. And for me to get up from this rather low position isn't easy. I mean, I can get up from there, but it's rather low. So what I did was I took a 2x4, 2x8, and another 2x8, and in between is a section of the 2x8, a smaller section. So this 2, 2, 2, this will be raised up about 5.5 inches from the ground. So my butt will be 5.5 inches taller to make it easier for me to crawl out of the depths of my couch. And so in order for me to put, couch is very heavy. It also is, it's made, there's a lot of metal in that couch, and it's very heavy, and it's wedged, in my house, it's wedged between solid mountains of stuff, bookshelves, who knows what all. So I have to pull this out this way. While it's out here, I'll put the blocks of wood underneath and then slide it back. Hopefully it'll all slide back together, and it will require another person helping me. So that's on my list of things to do this morning. I also have to continue, hello Ms. Marilyn, I also have to continue getting my house ready for out-of-town visitors who are coming from California to buy some pens from me, and maybe some art even, I don't know. They did want to buy 2 drawings I did, and I have them here. One was a digital drawing that I did of the figure, and I told him, I said, you could print this out. I'll send you the high resolution image, and you could print it out on your printer, whatever size you want, and you can frame it there rather than me printing it out here and putting it in a frame and going to the post office and wrapping it up and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, hopefully, he might want to buy some of the other art that I do, which I think will be fun. We're going to be going to museums together and going out to dinner and playing trivia and stuff. So anyway, Ms. Marilyn, what are you up to today? Why are you up so early? Aren't you supposed to be asleep? What time is it out there? 6 o'clock, or is it 5 o'clock? I never know how our time zones work. It's funny having a pen that is so fat. It's just very different. This pen versus this pen. I'm so used to this size. I see. Cool. So, Ms. Marilyn, I think you were on Wasky's channel once, weren't you? Or was Wasky on your channel? Both. Oh, cool. I went back to see how many times Wasky and I have been live together or recorded together, and we have done a couple of things. And so this Sunday we'll do another thing together, and I'll be on his channel rather than he on mine. So it'll be interesting to see if there's any people, even though he uses, every time he reviews a pen, he does the world famous Pierre Gustafson test. So I'm always mentioned, but I don't know whether, I'm hoping there's some cross-pollination that hasn't happened that might happen. I think that, I offer a little bit a different kind of perspective on pens than many reviewers do. You also do the world famous. So here's the thing. I wonder whether Wasky is doing the world famous Pierre Gustafson test correctly. I know that the reason why I brought this up in the first place was maybe 20 years ago, modern fountain pens, the Parkers, the Schaeffers, the Watermans, they didn't really have other ones. And many of them didn't have breather holes, like those Waterman cartridge pens don't have a breather hole. And if you write fast, it'll skip. So the world famous Pierre Gustafson. Speak of the devil, I was just talking of you, Cesar, and your visit here. And the world famous Pierre Gustafson test is was made to sort of point out that there might be a lot of skipping that happens because the ink flow isn't good enough. And I'm wondering whether modern pens, if you apply as much pressure as I might to a pen, Wasky is pretty even in how he applies pressure. He presses down generally harder than he needs to when he's the quietest, and he doesn't press down as much as he could at the hardest. At the so there is a difference. But you know, when you saw that picture, that video of me with the bumblebee, where I just dipped a dip pen nib, just one dip, and it went on forever without skipping at all. And I'm going really, really fast. I'm pressing down really a lot, and there isn't any skipping. So I just wonder whether, oops, I almost had another wardrobe malfunction here. What's wrong with this? So Cesar, would you like to come live on my thing here right now? Or are you trying to get ready for work or to go out? There's one time Dr. Cesar came on live and he was in his pajamas, which I thought was very charming. Ms. Marilyn doesn't have pants on. Well, we normally don't see your legs at all. I don't think I've ever seen your legs, Ms. Marilyn. I've only seen from your mid torso up and your hands. I've never seen you're shaving. You're shaving and watching at the same time. Oh dear. You know, there are times when I'm taking a little video of my cat, or you know, I'm taking a video of maybe drawings I did, and I'm sitting on the couch and I move my camera to the left or right, and I see here I'm wearing my underwear, my tighty whities, and I thought, oh fuck, let's put some pants on, or let's aim the camera and keep it over here rather than over here. So 20 minutes. You can join for 20 minutes. Let me know when you're ready and I'll invite you in and we can talk about our trip. One of the things I have to do today, or that I want to do before you come to visit, is to organize my house a little tiny bit so that we can play with pens, and I can show you my collection, and I can show you why I like this particular pen, even if it's a pen that isn't for sale or that you don't like. For example, I can say, well, this is why I like this. So I sort of want you to get to know my personal shtick. No, I know I shouldn't worry. But I'm also trying to talk with people in my building whose artwork you might like, and you might like to meet the artists. So I'm also trying to get that going. And some of them you'll meet when we go play trivia on Wednesday night, but you might like to see their studios. Their studios are sometimes really, really fun. So it's just, we're an interesting bunch of people that are relatively creative and fun, and but our tastes are so very, very different. Going to your desk now? Okay. Well, let me know when you're there, and then I'll send you the link. Remember, Cesar, that you'll have to turn off the YouTube, otherwise we'll hear an echo. So you'll get a link that will bring you to the StreamYard site on Chrome or Safari. I wish this nib worked a little better. This pen seems like it should have a big, fat, wet nib. I mean, if I could pick whatever kind of nib would go in this pen, I would say it's going to be a big, fat, wet nib. Sometimes I look at a pen and I say, this pen should have a stiff stub nib, or this pen should have a really, really stiff or very slightly flexible, but really, really, really fine point, because the pen looks like it should have that. It's like when you see a person standing in line at the grocery store or something, and you see their body language and their body type and the clothes they wear, and they get to the register and they you see this 300-pound man with a leather jacket and leather chaps on because he's a motorcycle rider, and he goes up and he says to the cashier, "Oh, I thought these peaches were on sale." The voice doesn't seem to match what you expected it to be, and you think everyone that's big should sound like Jackie Gleason. But when you hear someone big sound like Mickey Mouse, it sort of makes you like, what the heck what's going on here? What universe did I fall into? Oh, you're ready now. Okay, so Cesar, you sounded exactly like you look, but I heard you speak before I saw you in person, so there wasn't a surprise. So let me see, how do I make this go? Copy. You were a little shorter than I expected you to be, though. I do remember that when I saw you outside the hotel entrance. I thought, oh, I thought you'd be 4 inches taller. And you probably thought I would be 6 inches shorter. Okay, click on that. And that will bring you to this stage. And then we'll start our conversation. See, there are two things. One thing you said you wanted to buy, and I will give it to you for free. It's a drawing of a beer, and I put it in a frame to show at Open Studios, and I mismeasured and cut an inch of the drawing off that I shouldn't have cut. So I said I'd give you that for nothing, and it's still for nothing. And you can have the frame if you want to, but so I'll have that to give you. You also asked, and I can find this in an email, but you might be able to find it better. You did see a drawing I did of a male nude on my iPad, and you said you wanted that. How much is it? And I said, well, I don't know if I said a price, but I said, I tell you what, I'll send you the file in an email, and you can print it up in California, whatever size you want. And and I did send it to you, but I don't know if you did print it up or not, but I can certainly find that again. I'm hoping you might like to buy some other, you're so there. Friedrich, you are so there. Friedrich, do you have pants on? Do you want to join the happy conversation? Cesar will be here in a second, I think. I don't know why it's taking him a while, but maybe he's having problems with getting onto the platform. So who made the Ready Point nibs? Friedrich, you're the historian in the room. Your camera's ready? Okay, well, I sent you the link. Here it is again. So click on that link. Only the duvet to cover your modesty. Oh, it's funny. So click on that link, Cesar, and it'll open a page in Safari or Chrome, whatever your browser is. And then you'll turn off on your device the YouTube thing, so we don't have a echo. So Friedrich, Ready Point. What is your knowledge of Ready Point? Oh, there you are, Cesar. Add to stay. Do this. Hello, Cesar. St. Paul. Okay. Made those later for Conklin. I could see the resemblance between Ready Point and Conklin. The Ready Point nibs reminded me a lot of the Conklin Nozacs. There's something about the shape that seems very Conklin symmetric and Nozac-y. So Cesar, is your camera functioning? So that's probably why I have so many Ready Point nibs, is because of that. And who made the Lincoln pen? This is a Lincoln pen. How was Lincoln and Good Service related? Lincoln, Good Service, National Pen Company. How were they related? David Nishimura got all bent out of shape when I said National and Good Service were the same. Host may add me. Well, I did. I added you to the thing. Try clicking that link again, Cesar. There you are. There. Now I can see you. Look at you.
Hello, good morning.
Hello. Look at you. Your desk is exactly as messy as I would have imagined it.
Yeah, it is pretty messy. Yeah.
And the reason I say that was the first pieces of paper you sent me when I said, please show me what you draw like and what you write like. among no two pieces of paper were the same. They were 10 different pieces of paper, including one that was a page from your income tax filing. And I promise I didn't look at the numbers very carefully or carefully at all. I just said, my God, these are his income tax. So what do you got going?
All right. So I have a 12.
Okay. Oh, yep. Yummy, yummy. Boinga, boinga.
Yummy, yummy. Very lovely.
Yeah.
Very beautiful. Very delicious.
Yeah.
Let me orient my camera properly. Let me think. Yeah, that's good.
It's okay.
It's
We
upside
can
down. Okay.
we can see things upside down. It's fine.
All right.
Oh, did you what do you think of the pen Ms. Marilyn sent you? She's asking that
I
question.
love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I may have left it at work.
Okay.
Um,
I thought you had retired, kind of.
I um I think about it every day. I think
See,
about it every day.
well, the reason that I asked you, you initially found me uh, somehow, I don't remember how, to redesign your business card and your letterhead,
Right.
and it was to
Right.
remove something because you no longer were practicing something, whatever.
Right. Critical care.
So
Right.
I had to take that off, and I also changed the the uh, the font you had used for all of the alphabet soup that went after your name, MD, blah 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 blah.
Yes.
It just looked like someone upset a bowl of spaghetti, and having cursive caps next to each other is really hard to read, and
Yes.
let's turn that into type. And I did change both the capital letters of your name. I think do the two C's, are they the identical C or are they a different C? I can't remember.
Um,
I
well,
can look it up later, but
yeah, you did some beautiful capital C's, which I love.
yeah,
Um, and now I have letterhead with good paper. They call it cougar paper of all names,
okay,
and it works well.
okay.
Let me think.
Friedrich, I want to mention something that Friedrich just said before it goes away, because I don't know, when people watch these things later, do they see the text or they have to press a button to see the text comments that were live? I don't know. I never figure that out.
The
But
text, the text. You don't see the text anymore
yeah,
afterwards.
yeah. But there was a friend of mine, held up a Waterman 12 and said, "Why did they stop? This is the perfect pen. Why did they ever stop after a Waterman 12? They didn't have to." And that's just what Friedrich said. If pens just were hard rubber, eyedrop fill pens, that's all you need. And in
I
a way,
agree.
true. That's true. It's nice having pens that are pretty colors and have sterling overlay and all that other kind of stuff. But the Waterman 12 um, is really the perfect pen. Now, other people,
Yes.
Watermans, made rather eyedrop fill pens, Swan and other companies, Wirt, but Waterman really hit the nail on the head, I think, with the Waterman 12. Um, but anyway, so let me ask you other questions. You you have I can see at least 3 or 4 different colors of ink. So you variations of black and blue, huh? Mainly.
Yes, but I am learning more and more from the world famous Pierre Gustafson.
Dear.
So look at the color that I put in this baby.
Yeah, it looks like it's black to me, but it's hard to
Yeah,
tell.
it is gorgeous. It's a
Yeah,
gorgeous black. And even Todd made a video just a couple of days ago, and he's using black ink.
yeah, that's very rare. He's going from peacock blue or whatever the Waterman turquoise color is, um, to that. I love using blue and sepia inks when I do, I think, oh my God, I can see why people love using color, but almost always I'm doing drawings. Well, when I used to do drawings for a living, I don't really make a living anymore. I would use black because that's what I would scan in. I'd have to turn it black anyway, so might as well start with black.
Yeah, it's very
Oh,
elegant, very
Friedrich said Todd is using black ink. He's worried. He's worried that something's wrong with the world. Um, so so we're just onto our little upcoming rendezvous. You and Mary and I will meet at the Gardner right on the 21st. Is that it?
Yeah, yes, Monday the 20th.
Monday the 20th. Okay. Uh, and I look forward to that. Have you ever been to there before?
No, I've wanted
No.
to go
Okay.
for a long time.
Well, Mrs. Gardner uh, went all over the world and bought art and brought it home, and then moved from Beacon or Commonwealth Avenue or Beacon Street, wherever she lived. She built what she called the palace. She built a palace on the Fenway, a couple of blocks from the Museum of Fine Arts, and she made it look like an Italian villa, and
Wow.
filled it with her collection of art. And when her will stipulated that not one thing can be moved from the place where it's hung. And she also had the museum was open to the public a few days a week, and she was very generous with her art collection with the population of Boston. And but her will stipulated that nothing could be moved or changed. Yes, it could be moved if it was being cleaned, or if maybe they had to restretch a canvas because the stretcher was shrinking or something. There was a way they could change some things, but never, not the pictures. The pictures on the wall had to stay on the wall. So after the theft of those pictures about nearly 40 years ago, 35 years ago, all you see is the frames, and there's this empty space in the rooms where the pictures were. So you'll see that.
Love
Uh,
it.
you'll also see the museum is really crowded. A lot of people that like art and people that work at the Museum of Fine Arts, they refer to it as an attic. It looks like an attic because it's so jam packed. And it's not, the pictures aren't on white walls or neutral colored walls. They're on brocade wallpaper, and they've got furniture everywhere, and the furniture has flower pots on it with flowers in it, and it's just it's you're going into someone's house, and that's a Victorian era house, and that's really fun. Except you get overwhelmed really quick. So if there are certain kinds of artists that you particularly want to see, you might want to look at a catalog of what they have online first,
Mm.
just to make sure. I mean, you'll see everything, but if you really, really love the paintings of Titian or whatever,
Oh, wow.
you can see those. Another thing they have is they have a hallway that has drawings and some paintings, but watercolors and drawings on it. And they're on big pages, you know, that you turn like this, and each page of this framework has maybe 5 or 6 drawings on it, and then you turn it and you see other 5 or 6 drawings and another 5 or 6, and you turn it. And those things, I'm sure that they didn't exist maybe when Mrs. Gardner was there. So maybe that was something that was able to be added. I don't know. There's also lots of glass cases that have black velvet over them, and you can lift them up and you can look into the cases and you see letters written by artists to or sketchbooks by artists, things that she collected there. And it's really quite intimate. Subsequent to maybe 20 years ago, the museum bought, or they had property where there was a garden or a back lot, I don't know what it was, and they built a museum next to the Gardner that does have shows that do change, and they have artwork that comes in for a particular show, so that it does work like a normal museum does, but the actual house cannot be changed. So let's see what people
Very cool. Does this pen
ring a bell.
ring a bell?
Is that the Franken pen?
Yes.
Okay, well, I might have another 1 or 2 of those for you to maybe go home with when you visit me.
Yeah, I would love that.
I haven't decided which ones they will be yet, but so another Friedrich, you said I'd like that same stipulation in your will. There is another museum in Philadelphia called the Barnes Museum, and he was another crackpot. Well, he was more of a crackpot maybe than Mrs. Gardner, but he had a house that had his collection of art, but he hung it very weirdly. He he would hang something that's very modern next to something really, really old, and had it next to a piece of furniture that was even weirder mix. But that's what he did, and he also had a stipulation that nothing could be changed. And they ended up moving the museum from its suburban location to, they rebuilt the house essentially. The interior looks identical to what it looked like before, except it's in an actual museum that is climate controlled and stuff, and it's along this park in front of the Philadelphia.
Sorry, my alarm.
That's okay. You need to go.
Sorry.
Do you need to go? Do you need to
No,
leave?
no, no. That was my wake up alarm, but
Okay.
I'm already awake.
You're I can see that you're already awake. Look at you with your bright red going on there, red and blue. Yeah, maximalism is what Friedrich likes, the Victorian Edwardian maximalism. It is so much fun to be in. Well, I fit right into that, and that's one of the reasons why I like going to secondhand bookstores and antique shops and junk shops. Is there's just stuff piled on top of each other, and the randomness of this and this, these two objects next to each other, they have a conversation. They don't know they're having it, but they have one in your little mind, and it's really kind of neat how that can work. Um,
Yeah,
so
and then you can find a jewel,
yeah,
among.
there, there's the really neat thing right there next to these other things over there that aren't as interesting to you. So you're, in addition to meeting me and Todd here, the pen people, you also have family or friends that you're seeing here in Boston too.
Yeah, a really good friend of my daughter's,
Okay.
for some reason, is in her final years of training as an orthopedic surgeon. So
Okay.
she's super, super busy.
Okay.
But she's a sweetheart, very resilient, very,
Oh,
able to put up with all these surgeons in the OR, and she can hold her own ground.
no, good.
She's very pretty and a little tormented, but she's a sweetheart.
Well,
She's just wonderful.
before you say anything else, this information you're giving me is somewhat public. so, so
True,
she's,
true,
is,
true.
so you might want to tone down.
Oh, she's a sweetheart. She's like the best. She's a
She doesn't
wonderful.
mind that you called her tormented. Okay.
Well, we love her so much, but she's so resilient, so
Okay.
strong, has been through so much, and now she's like a big, you know, big shot orthopedic surgeon.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
And but as I had mentioned to you before, and I'll talk to you, again in person about this. There are, some time that you and I will be here looking at pens and maybe some of my art and some people here, and we'll go play trivia. And I'm happy to join you at other things that you
Yes, yes,
like
yes.
me
We
to
hope
meet.
you do. Yeah,
But
we hope you do.
but I don't. I might have a job that comes in between now and then that I have to do or something. But
Sure, sure.
I also don't want to interrupt. I'm sure there are times when you guys might want to be all by yourself. You don't want to have the third wheel. So anytime I'm at your disposal, I can be there some of the times. I can be there a lot of the times. I can be there not so many times. It's up to you. Todd will only be here. He'll be arriving on Wednesday and he'll stay over after trivia and then he's leaving the next day. Now, whether he needs to leave right in the morning, I don't know. Um, if there's uh, something you're doing on Thursday morning that he might like to go to, or I might like to go to, it might be fun um, uh, to join you for that. Uh, do you have any desire to do something outside of the Boston area itself?
My wife has already a pretty solidly booked
Oh, okay.
schedule of museums and
Okay.
stuff.
Okay.
So I'll check with her.
Well,
So,
why don't you do this? Send me that schedule
all right.
just so I can see, because there might be in between, this museum and that museum, there might be something else that's just right next door that you might really really enjoy seeing.
Oh,
Uh,
good.
Another thing is we've got a lot of really really interesting architecture like Trinity Church
Mm.
and the Boston Public Library. They're right across the street from each other. The Boston Public Library is free, and you'll be able to see these beautiful murals by Puvis de Chavannes and uh, uh, um, John Singer Sargent. And they also sometimes they have a display of antique books or um, prints or maps on display. And I'd have to research that. Next to that is Trinity Church, which is an
Mm.
uh, amazing uh, uh, church done by H. Richardson, and it costs money to go inside it, but it's certainly worth it. Another thing is just a few blocks away from that is a church of the Covenant. Is that, Matt? Is that where the Tiffany's are? Arlington is better, but they both are. So there's also two churches that
Mm.
are a block away from each other that have Tiffany windows in them that you might enjoy seeing too. And I don't know whether they're open to the public or not, but there, if you like that kind of architecture from the 1850s
Oh yeah.
to the when 1900 maybe, when my neighbor is making coffee here, and he is Lance. He's a he worked for a company that restores uh, windows, stained glass windows.
Oh wow.
So he knows, and you'll meet him, and we can maybe go out to dinner one night.
Yeah.
He may join us for trivia. I don't know, but
Okay.
he but I think you'd really enjoy meeting him as well. And he might know if you like stained glass windows, for example. He'll make a list of what places to see. Um, so in Boston, we have a great, well, not great. How does our transit system work? Not always great, but it's a very walkable city. But there's also things, if you're interested in history, outside of architecture, you can go to the Navy Yard where the USS Constitution is, Old Ironsides. You can go to the State House. You can go to the Capitol building. You can go to things that have more historical significance, maybe than artistic, though generally in Boston, they're one and the same. Harvard University has a magnificent collection in the Fall Art
Mm.
Museum. So you're not going to be bored.
Lovely. Lovely. Looking forward to it. You know, Pierre, I see that I'm getting like a tons of texts from the doctors in my group. We have a
Okay, well,
problem in the
we should
hospital.
probably, I need to sign off as well, but I look forward to meeting you on the 20th and Monday the 20th, and I'll meet you at the Gardener. And then we'll see you later. One window trying to hunt down period appropriate replacement glass. Um, Friedrich, I don't know where you find that. My friend Matt would know, but might know. Anyway, see you all later.
All
Bye.
right, take care. Bye.
Bye bye.